Hello, welcome back to the next episode, episode two of the Media Clip. My name is Richard Askham, and I will be your host today. And my guest, who's clearly quite excited about being my guest today, and I'm going to do my best here, so bear with me, Christian Rondeau.
Or Christian, whatever you want.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd start. I'd start by trying, and then
I
I'll
appreciate the
just
effort.
I'll drift off as it goes along. So, but welcome, Christian. Welcome to the
Thank you.
Media Clip, and of course you know Media Clip pretty well, and you've kind of got the shirt as well, which I like already. The branding is good, but tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, how long you've been with Media Clip, or the story. Give me the story.
Of course, the quick version is that I've been with MediaClip since the last soon 20 years. So we've seen everything from making DVDs with machinery, from doing photo books, from hosting our own services. So my role is CTO, mainly responsible for product vision, working with building excellent teams, making sure that the product serves our purpose and that we have a strategic vision aligned with the company.
Brilliant. Well, that's beautifully done. Thank you very much indeed. Let's
Alrighty.
dig into that a little bit because 20 years is a long time. I know when I had Marianne on episode one, we talked a little bit about the history of the company and really how it's got to this point. But I guess from a technical point of view, there's probably never been a bigger development curve. If it is a curve, it's probably a straight up line in the last 20 years. You've seen that firsthand, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. At the beginning, I mean, we are specialized in doing personalized products, which is kind of where in e-commerce systems you have the most complexity per square foot, where the most user interaction happen within a single screen. So most of the companies at the time didn't have the resources to invest in a good solution. So it was spread out and really built into their e-commerce platform. So that's where we started. We began with something completely separate that was thought in a way where that would work inside other people's ecosystem. And that has been both a weakness because this makes it more complicated to integrate. Obviously, you have more hooks and screws to tighten for this to work, but also it meant we were able to adapt and change with major technological change. One typical example is when Flash died. At the beginning, we had the Flash designer. We did not have to rewrite everything. Since the beginning, we never had to do a full rewrite in 20 years, and most of the code is new. So we've uh,
Wow.
we've been able to do some great things.
And I guess in that time as well, and we were talking a little bit before we started recording about the whole debate about build versus buy
Yeah,
versus build, but that's changed so much, hasn't it, over that 20 years?
it always changes. On one end, you rarely want to build because if somebody solved the problem, you don't want to solve it again unless you have a competitive advantage or unless the solution does not fit your need. And the thing is, the technological landscape changed so much that at some point, some options that were obvious builds, obvious buys became builds because you did not have the same environment that it was built for in the first place. The company who built it did not follow with the landscape changes, or it's an open source project that died. So yeah, the what seems like an obvious answer 1 year might be a totally different one 5 years later.
Well, and sometimes 5 minutes later, because as we said before, the rate of development now with technology, and also I think to a certain extent the customers, the consumers' understanding of what they're capable of. Because 20 years ago there was no iPhone.
No,
There was there.
expectations were completely different.
Oh, absolutely. And you fast forward to today and everybody's a content creator, everybody's a designer, everybody's a media company, everybody's everything if they want to be. So I guess the challenge for companies like MediaClip and others is picking a strategy that you can stick to, that delivers the return that you want as a business, but also enables your customers to grow. That's got to be getting harder and harder, hasn't it?
Yes and no. I mean, the good thing, and that's part of the advantage of having, let's say, the buy side of things for our customers and the build side of things for us as a company, is that we are able to work with different companies who have different timings. So either they are more innovative or they have different customers base. So we can see those different things and take them into account in the design itself of what we do and how we do it. I mean, in terms of users, at some point, users did not have the knowledge. And eventually they had more knowledge, more expectations of advanced features, but at the same time, the technology made things simpler.
Mm.
The interaction with phones versus what you had before with the mouse, the fewer features that are more constrained, but also compatible with people who have more advanced use cases, more creative use cases. So you can have both. You have both expectations of a simpler user experience, but also expectations of more features, which is typically one against the other. So we have to figure out how to make that work, and that is challenging. That gets
And
more challenging.
yeah, I bet, and that balance as well between features and speed, and our expectation as consumers, and then it goes on to delivery, So I was saying to somebody the other day that if we could go back to the start of the internet, way back when, nobody would ever use the words guaranteed next day delivery because it's just blown everybody's minds for the last 25 years. But I guess that the genie's not going back in the bottle, is it? We have to, as an industry, as the software companies within that industry, develop and continue to develop to match consumers' expectations.
Absolutely, and also be able to maintain that. One of the things that is challenging, especially when and that comes back to the build versus buy, when you build something for a long time, as things get more complex, they also get more complex to test. They get more complex to improve and change. So most of the time, unless you have really strict and intense way of thinking about building software, things tend to rot.
Mm.
Code gets more complex. Old use cases are being forgotten. You have a hard time adding features without breaking other features. So yeah, the those challenge kind of multiply with the ability to maintain the long term, because as the landscape changes, you still get customers, or as a customer, you still get use cases that might not yet be ready to switch to that new approach, new feature set, new way of doing things. So you don't want to end up with a second version of it that works a bit differently, and then at the end of 20 years, 300 versions of it that you need to
Yeah.
maintain forever. That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, only 300. That would be great, wouldn't it? But I guess it's a compound problem, isn't it? Because the rate of development that you guys have to do, and you see the market happening in front of your very eyes, and in a lot of cases in the personalization space, particularly, you've enabled that market. So in some cases, you're sort of making the problem harder for yourselves as well, aren't you?
Yes, I mean, we're not the only ones in the industry, right, who try to make things personable. And if you go outside of the print, personalization has been for the last 10 years a rising expectation of consumers being able to do their own things, make it personal. So yeah, I don't think we've created our own situation, but yeah, we did contribute to it, and I think that's a good thing, right? Because we end up being a bit more in the front of things, being able to see the those new expectations and how they might shape the industry in the future. So we can work with customer in both ways. We can learn from them, but we can also help them understand those kind of changes that are being imposed on us in some cases. For example, with AI, both on the creative side, but also in the software engineering side, which does change the landscape on every front in a major way.
I think it's a genius strategy, Christian, to be honest, because you sort of highlighted the problem and then delivered the solution. I mean, that's just brilliant business thinking, isn't it?
I just can't say thank you, but we going back to the company itself, we have a crazy amazing team. Honestly, I think we're extremely lucky to have those people. I'm not taking credit for it. The team is, of course.
Yeah, well, that's very kind of you, and I'm sure they'll be very delighted when they hear this podcast and that you're saying that. So well done, you win
It
the
is true.
prize.
It is
Yeah,
absolutely true.
no, that's great, and I appreciate that. I think the world, the complexities of software that you guys are in. Have you always been in that world, by the way? I mean, I know you've been 20 years at MediaClip, but has this always been a passion for you?
Yes and no. I have to say that before, let's say, 20 more years, I really did not expect or know about personalization that much, about expectations. So I learned that world while at MediaClip. At the very beginning, I was consulting with Marion on the early version of the company before I was fully onboarded. So no, I underestimated the possibilities of product customization and the creative endeavor you can find on the web, um, and that shows that this world really grew a lot since the last 20 years. But I did have a passion for photography. I did have a passion for software, so it was a good match for me.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And looking ahead, and it's always quite hard and challenging, particularly the world as we are at the moment. Looking ahead, what do you see coming down the track? What are your likely happenings over the next 3 to 5 years? Do you think in the world of software and personalization?
This is difficult. On one end, I think that there's no way we can avoid this AI craze. On one end, it will definitely, um, on one side, accelerate development, but also accelerate the one-offs. So, for example, if you have a business and you want to have a very simple software for very simple use cases, you'll be able to get them out very quickly. Of course, as they get more complex, you get all of those small AI-written software in the current state of things, it will not hold. In 3 to 5 years, we just don't know, right? In the last 2 years, I've been trying to follow the AI development, and every year it's a different ball game. So I don't know yet, but it will definitely change a lot of things in how the companies deliver features and how company evaluate build versus buy. Otherwise, the consumer side of things is also evolving. My daughter is chatting with WhatsApp, and she can like create an AI based background for a single chat. So it pops up everywhere right now, being able to generate images, generate videos, generate voices. So right now it feels like a bit more like of a toy, but I think it will really creep in our day-to-day lives in many, many ways. Some of them harder to see, especially in brand uh, interaction with consumers, and how
Mm.
that will affect e-commerce is also something we've yet to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. How old is your daughter, by the way?
She's 10.
Okay, so that 3 to 5 years that I'm talking about, she's going to be 15, nearly 16. The next generation of consumers who are growing up as digital natives, and this is all very just normal, to that generation, and for
For now, she doesn't
ridiculous.
have a phone though, so we'll see when she
Okay,
gets
oh,
one.
that's
It
good.
might
Good.
take a bit, a few
You win the
years.
you win the parenting prize, so that's good.
We're
But you
trying
see,
hard.
yeah, no, that's very good. You see my point. It's
Yes.
and for us, for my, I'm 100 years old, Christian. So it's all weird to me. But this generation are growing up with these tools as normal. Like we grew up with a wrench in a toolbox, and that was normal. They're growing up with AI in a toolkit, and that's normal. So it's a ridiculous question for me to ask 3 to 5 years. What I should say is 3 to 5 months. Because that rate of development and AI is not going away, is it?
No, no, no. The 3 to 5 months is definitely predictable. I mean, there has been this announcement recently of Anthropic saying Mythos will change everything, and we cannot release it. The funny thing is that 6, 7 years ago, OpenAI had the exact same announcement. We cannot release GPT-2 because it's too amazing. But the fact it is really more and more amazing, especially on the cybersecurity front. This is something that is more frightening than most other fronts because it's not about creating value and making the difference, but rather breaking things. So the rate at which software will be broken, the rate at which vulnerabilities will be used against you by a much larger portion of the population is going to create lots of problems. So that's the frightening part that I think 6 months is not a stretch where we'll see much more of those vulnerabilities being used against companies.
And you were probably too young to remember well, but the day when we all thought the world was going to come to an end, 1999, New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
midnight, and it didn't. So
No,
I'm
but a lot of people worked around the clock to save the day because
there is
ultimately,
that.
yeah, there was a lack of oversight from a lot of people trying to write software very fast, which is still true.
Yeah, but that's why we love you guys, because honestly, the world that we live in now couldn't exist without clever people like yourselves. And I think MediaClip, particularly in the space that you're in, and it's a passion for me, personalization, as you know, anyway. But I think that the stuff that you guys put out, and have created over the last 20 years is genius. So I absolutely tip my hat to you. And Christian, thank you so much for taking time today to join me on the Media Clip. You are the first person that's got Media Clip branding on the Media Clip podcast. So congratulations.
Hooray, and thank you very much. I'll relay the compliments to the team, of course.
Absolutely. Lovely to see you.
Same here.